Hi everyone, it's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video. Now, at this point, everyone and their dog has seen the Wheel of Time trailer, and it is absolutely fantastic. I don't know what else to say about it other than I was completely blown away. I had to wait a little bit longer than most to see it because I was at work today. However, I'm home now. I've seen the trailer. I'm very excited. Trailer Guide was a big success for Matt over the Dusty Wheel. Again, thank you so much, Matt, for that, for hosting the official trailer watch party for all of the fans and Sony and Amazon and a lot of the cast and production team. That was absolutely amazing. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break down the video. Now, if you're new to the channel, what I usually do here is I cover Wheel of Time news, so anything and everything to do with the Wheel of Time production. That's current news, official news, rumors, leaks, pictures, castings, you name it, I cover here. If you like that sort of thing, and if you also like breakdowns, Easter egg videos, and a bunch of what-if questions, as well as spoiler-free and spoiler reviews when the episodes do drop, you're going to want to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because I'm going to be putting out a ton of content between now and Christmas when the end of the first season is done, and after that, we'll go right back to news, talking about the second season that's filming until February. Oh, all right. All of that being said, I'm really very excited to hop into this. We're going to start breaking down this trailer frame by frame, and then later on I'm going to do a really deep dive with a bunch of Easter eggs that only some true hardcore fans probably would have noticed. So watch for that video coming after this one. All right. With that being said, spoiler warning, in this video I'm breaking down the Wheel of Time trailer. We're going to talk about the Wheel of Time books. So if you haven't read at least the first book in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, that's The Eye of the World, be forewarned, I'm going to spoil major plot points and character arcs from that novel. And I'm also going to spoil some stuff from Season 1 of the show because, let's face it, we are talking about the trailer here. All right, all of that being said, let's get on to the video. Alright, so we're going to talk about the trailer here. This is a trailer breakdown video. This is probably best for someone who hasn't read the book series in a while, or perhaps hasn't read it at all, and you're wondering what's going on. I'm going to talk about some things, explain some stuff with the trailer. However, if you're really into in-depth stuff where I talk about the differences, and I really pick things apart, like crazily pick things apart, my Easter egg video will be coming out later on. Watch for that because it's going to be a lot longer. I add a lot more stills from the trailer and I talk way more in depth about certain things, all of the differences, the changes, the mistakes, and I think there are a couple, or at least omissions anyway, as well as a bunch of other stuff that fans of the series who have been following this stuff forever are really going to pick apart. So that's a good one for those folks, or if you want to watch this one first and head over to that one, great. Alright, so the trailer opens up with this. It's Moiraine and who I believe to be Swan, the Amyrlin, holding the Oath Rod. Now, those strands of white around it are the one power, and she's swearing the 3 oaths. Now, the 3 oaths, as stated in the trailer, are to swear to speak no word that is untrue, to make no weapon which one person may kill another, and never to use the one power as a weapon. Now, this whole opening sequence, this swearing on the Oath Rod, plus Maxim Priyanka Bose's, or Lana Mosfani's warder, Taylor Napier here, he also explains that Aes Sedai means servants of all in the old tongue, and that they serve everyone, they serve the world. This is a really good opening for the trailer because it explains some things. Now, the last teaser we've gotten and all the promotional material, basically everything we've gotten has been pretty fan-oriented, and it has been difficult for people who haven't read the book series to follow or understand. And basically what I do is I show things to my wife. She's never read the series. She's not a huge fan of fantasy, but she likes fantasy-type shows like The Witcher and Game of Thrones and See over on Apple TV. And she didn't really understand or follow the last couple trailers. She thought it was kind of cool, but she didn't get it too much. This particular trailer she really enjoyed because, let's face it, it explains things out way better. You get a sense of what the story is going to be for non-readers, and you get a sense of where it's going to go for people maybe who haven't read the books in quite some time. Now we get this shot here while they're talking about the Aes Sedai, and it showcases the Hall of the Tower with all of the different Ajas, all the different colors, all separated apart, talking to the Amyrlin in front there, with the Keeper of the Chronicles, Lyanna, over to the right, played by Jennifer Chion Garcia. Now, really, really, really neat, and I say that a lot, but this shot never gets old. We've seen it in a bunch of promotional material. It is absolutely beautiful. I love it. Goes on to show Moiraine up close. Now the costumes here are absolutely beautiful. The thing in her head there, that's called the Kisara. She uses it as a focal point for her power. Now at this point, they're still talking about the Aes Sedai, so they're showcasing them. They're showing them what they're doing. Then we get this shot. Moiraine and Lan are talking. They're in the mountains over what appears to be Amon's field, and they say, what's left? Where are we searching next? She's going to the 2 rivers. This is where their journey leads them next. Again, this is kind of like just explaining everything out. She's searching for the one who's going to go against the Dark One, who will prevent him from destroying the world again. And it's laid all out in this trailer. I really like that. I think it's a fantastic job by Amazon laying this out for people who haven't read the books before, because let's face it, that's going to be the bulk of their viewers come November. Then we get these shots. We get a shot of Egwene in the pool and Nynaeve overlooking the pool. These come from her Woman's Circle ceremony initiation. We've seen this in the behind-the-scenes footage. We've seen this in some of the teasers. And we've also seen it in leaks from WatchSeries.com. This particular shot's happened near the beginning of the first episode, and it's where Egwene joins the Women's Circle or becomes a woman in the village. Now, it's a little bit different. They are slightly different things, and we explain that in the Easter egg video, exactly what I think they're doing here with this. Then we get shots of some of the other main characters. We get Perrin. Now you get a look at this. There are big fires in the background, what appears to be a castle. I think this is a shot probably from Faldera, personally. And then we get a shot of Rand with his bow and arrow, again, in what appears to be a city or a fortress. And then we get this shot of Matt. Now Matt is holding a dagger. Again, I go in quite depth about that dagger in the Easter egg video. However, it's a quick shot. It's there and it's gone. You'll notice the top of his head's cut off because basically this one doesn't really pan up over his entire body. It's just there for a quick second and then gone again. But we see all the main characters, and then we start to see this scene here. Now this scene here, this isn't a great shot of it, but it's Tam al'Thor, played by Mr. Roose Bolton himself from Game of Thrones, Michael Michelhatton, and he is holding his Heronmark blade, and this is where he attacks the Trolloc that has invaded his farm. Now, these scenes were shown at London Comic-Con, and they've been talked about extensively by a bunch of different people. A friend of mine, Richard from Wheel of Time Theory, was on the channel a few days ago and discussed all the scenes because he was fortunate enough there to see them. But this was one of the scenes, the attack on the farmhouse, which happens early on, I think in the first few chapters of the book of The Eye of the World. And on the left there, we have Tam. On the right, we have Rand. And we get this glorious shot of who I believe to be Narg. Now, if you don't know who Narg is a Trolloc, yes. However, he is the most famous Shadow Spawn in the entire book series because he's the only one that speaks, and he has a special place in the fandom's heart. Rafe Judkins, the showrunner, has said a number of times that they will include Narg, and I believe this to be Narg because Narg was a wolf-type Trolloc, and here we are, a very glorious up-close shot of a wolf-type Trolloc. Then we have this shot here. Now, these shots seem to showcase them going into a vast hall. Now, we've had a lot of leaked pictures and videos and stuff from the Faldera set. This appears to be the Faldera set. Those people in front of them there with the spears, we've seen videos and pictures of that the Narg from the Daily Trolloc had posted, and they seem to be Shannara soldiers. Then we go to this shot here. This, I believe to be Lord Eldemar. I'm going to break some things down in the Easter egg video just a little bit further about who I believe this person to be, although we've speculated on it quite some time, and this is absolutely glorious. I love seeing this. That is an amazing shot with the big circular door, him overlooking the outside courtyard of Faldera. Really, really glorious. This is Faldera. Again, we've seen some leaks of this, and this is really cool because Faldera is at the edge of the Blight, and that certainly does look blighty. For those of you who don't know, the Blight is basically a wasteland where almost nothing grows, and when it does grow, it's corrupted and stunted, and everything basically is twisted by the Dark One's power, and that's where all of the Shadow Spawn and basically everything evil comes from. And Shale Ghul is the thinnest part of the pattern where the Dark One can be felt, and that also happens to be in the Blight, and that's what's corrupting everything around it. So this, again, edge of the Blight, because they hold the Blight border up in the Borderlands, you know, basically protecting everyone below them. So we get this shot here. This appears to be Lan crying and very upset, all dressed in white. Now, white is sort of a funeral color, and we're going to go with that. I believe this to be a funeral. There's going to be a couple of other stills here in between, and I want to talk about them. But remember this. We have Lan with his Hedori on. He's wearing white. He's crying. Then we have a shot of this. This appears to be a White Cloak, who I believe is Aemon Valda, clipping Aes Sedai rings to his belt. Now, I mentioned it before. I believe the White Cloaks are going to be far more dangerous in the show than they were in the books, because, let's face it, in the books, they were kind of a joke of an organization. They're used as bad guys when it was kind of convenient or necessary to further the plot along. However, no one really ever felt threatened by them because they were sort of portrayed as bumbling zealots, so to speak. They talked about killing Aes Sedai, they talked about things like that. However, they never really did anything truly horrible to Aes Sedai because they weren't that skilled, at least the way they're portrayed in some of the earlier books. Then we have this. We have what appears to be a woman burning at the stake. Now, this woman is wearing all yellow, which to me screams yellow Aja. And again, I break down in the Easter egg video who I believe this character to be, but I think this is Chesmal Emery. I probably pronounced it completely wrong. A yellow sister, and we won't talk too much more about that, but there are some reasons why I think this, and it has directly to do with some comments by Rafe, the showrunner. So then we see a shot of Eamon Valda, and just the pompous, arrogant look in his face, absolutely glorious, and you can see the bonfire reflected in his goblet, hands covered in blood. This man is evil as evil gets, and I think I'm going to love the White Cloaks. I really, really do, because, wow, that's just absolutely horrifying. Almost as horrifying as more horrifying than the Shadow Spawn. They're built to kill. This is another human being doing this to another human being. Just insane. Then we have a shot of what appears to be Perrin and Egwene. Now it goes through this part of the trailer where they show them being circled by White Cloaks. And we have another shot of Moiraine. Now she's wearing white as well. This appears to be in the background. If you look there, probably at Tarvalon. Looks to be at a funeral scene. And I believe this is probably for Kareen, because we do speculate that she does die in the first season. She was only on set for a bit. And this is probably her funeral, because we have everyone dressed around them in white. To the right, there's Priyanka Bose dressed in white. This appears to be a lot of Aes Sedai, all in white, and warders, and they're all very upset and crying. So my guess is a funeral scene. This is that shot I was talking about earlier, where Perrin and Egwene were being, circled by White Cloaks. Again, a small change from the books. This appears to be daylight. Doesn't happen in the daylight in the books. However, it does look like they are captured, just like they are in the book series. Then we have these shots here. This appears to be a ruined and burnt out Emond's Field. Brand is there leading who I think is Bella. I mean, let's face it. It's his mare. It's probably Bella, with Tam on his back. Now, we've seen this in the behind-the-scenes shots. We've seen this in some other promotional material, some other stills that Wheel of Time has released and Amazon and Sony have released. And absolutely cool. This is basically a burnt-out, destroyed town after the attack. There's a lot of people bustling around. But you see dead bodies and dead Trollocs on the ground, and it is absolutely glorious. We have a couple of shots of Trollocs throughout the rest of this that we're going to talk about, because they're all a little bit different. This one almost looks pig-faced and has tusks like a boar, different horns. One of the horns is lopped off on the side. Now, you got to remember, most of these Trollocs are done with practical effects, and they are absolutely stunning. Like, hats off to the effects team for these. I love them. I'm a child of the 80s. I love practical effects, and I love these. I really do. Again, this is a really grainy shot, but look at that. That person hooded, cloaked, all in black, and then they're holding a sword, fighting none other than Tom Merrilin on the right. I think that's to fade the attack on Tom in the books in Whitebridge. I don't think this happens in Whitebridge, but I think this is what that is. Another good shot there. That is definitely an armored, black-cloaked rider, just like the fades in the books, and Tom defending from him. Now, we have this shot here. This is of the Waygate. Again, this is clipped funny. It is off to the right just a bit. We have some people there. We see Lan, Rand, Egwene, Moiraine in the front, Matt, and then we have, I'm going to move myself here, because we have Matt, next to Matt, to the left, Nynaeve, next to Nynaeve, Perrin, and then someone hunched over in front with some shaggy hair. Who could that be? I think that's our first look at Loyal. I'm pretty sure, almost 100% sure, we're seeing him there. Really fantastic that we get to see him, even if it is just the back of his head. I think they're going to save the big reveal, probably for the actual show, because people are going to be scared of him, because in the books he was, chased around and people shouted Trolloc and stuff at him because they thought he was Shadow Spawn. He took refuge in the inn in the library. So I think that's what they're going to do there. Then we have a couple more shots of these Trollocs. Again, these are bestial. They're absolutely glorious. They look like something straight out of a Krampus or a horror movie. I really like them. And it all talks about the Dark One right now. And they're explaining the entire story. They're basically explaining the entire of the first season to the uninitiated, to the people who haven't read the series before. Now this shot here, again, I got to move myself again. This is Logain. There's a dagger. You have the 3 stars. Now that's important. We'll talk about that in my Easter egg video, but the 3 stars in that dagger are important. And that dagger, he's basically going to be stabbed, but look at the look in his face. He does not give 2 shits. No, he doesn't. He knows he can stop this dagger with 1 power. You have what appears to be Saidin going out from him, and it's tainted. It's black. Now they're calling it they're not calling it the taint. They're calling it the corruption. However, it's the taint, and it's wrapping around this guy's wrist. Whoever this appears to be, attacking him and stopping the dagger. I just love the look in his face. He's like, you can't hurt me. I got this. Again, another one here. You have the cage that's wrapped around Logain here, and all the bars are completely melted. He's using the 1 power in this shot. Glorious. I love seeing stuff like this. Really nice to see on the screen. Now this one here is pretty interesting. This is our first build, or it has like kind of like a bird. It looks like a Arakoa, if you guys know D&D or have read the Forgotten Realms books. That's what I get from this, and I love it. I really do. There's been some fan art out there of these, and I like them. This is certainly a different Trolloc, but you see the blood on it. Look at all that blood. There's a lot of blood and a lot of gore in this trailer. You blink and you miss it, but it's there. I think that's part of the reason the rating is 16 in Canada, 14 in the US. Again, we view violence a little bit more higher rating up here than the US does, so I think that's probably why that is. And then this is it getting blasted with a ball of fire. I'm going to move myself here again. You can see this fire hitting him, and just look at that. That's the look in his face, the feathers. That thing is going to go up like a torch. Absolutely glorious. All right, now these are a couple of shots here I really wanted to talk about. This first one appears to be the blood snow. You have the buckler and the 2 bloody spears in the back of a person who appears to be wearing the garb of the Aiel. So this is the Cadensor, the grays, the browns. Now people have said, well, it's not brown enough. It's not, you know, tan enough that I think it would show up in the waist. You got to remember, this is the blood snow. They adapted their clothing to where they are at. As the longer they stayed in the wetlands, they added green patches to their clothing. They added other things. They like blending in. They're Aiel. They're stealthy. They're you know, that's their whole shtick. They like to blend into things. Now, this Aiel, again, this basically confirms we're seeing the blood snow. This is probably the Battle of Tar-Valon, outside Tar-Valon, with big glorious purpose when the dragon is born on the slopes of Dragonmount. I think we're going to see some flashbacks to this. Then we have these characters here. These characters are all Shineran soldiers. Again, we've seen them before in other promotional material, and they all have their crossbows up. I wonder what they're shooting at, but again, at this point, they're still explaining about the Dark One. They're explaining about the dragon, and again, they're really doing this for the uninitiated, the people who haven't read the book series. Again, this trailer, and I'm going to say it a bunch of times during this video, really, really neat to see that they're marketing towards everyone else now. This is another one. I'm moving myself for another time here. You have the Aiel grabbing this gentleman right here with a golden cloak, and what's that on his chest? A whole bunch of bees. I think this is probably Tam. That's my guess anyway, because that is the symbol of Illan, and Tam was part of the Illan army. Now we're going to talk about a bunch about that more in my Easter egg video, but again, this is probably setting up the scene where they find the Dragon Reborn on the slopes of Dragonmount. That's my guess. But like, look at the costume, like just glorious. A lot of whites and grays, blends in with the snow. I really like that. I think they did a fantastic job there. All right, and then we have this. I wanted to showcase this. This was Lan basically just smashing the crap out of a shadow spawn that's on the ground. And look at that fountain spray of blood. It's not overkill. It's not Sam Raimi-esque. It's not Evil Dead. It's certainly not Nightmare on Elm Street-esque. However, I would dare say that that is a fountain. That is still a lot of blood. More realistic than we'd see in maybe Game of Thrones. But they're not shying away from the violence. They're not shying away from the gore, at least in the trailer, because they're showcasing this in the trailer. What are we going to see in the show? And again, another shot of a Trolloc. This looks straight out of the Labyrinth with David Bowie. I would 100% say this would feel very comfortable on a Jim Henson set. Glorious. Really, really, really nice practical effects. My hat's off to these people. All right, so that's pretty much the full trailer in a nutshell. We've talked about all the scenes in it. Again, watch my Easter egg breakdown. I'm really going to dive into a bunch of different things in there. I won't explain the trailer so much as pick out different images and really dive into them, because there is a ton to talk about for people who have read the books a bunch, and there's a bunch of little details there that I really want to get into. Now, all that being said, if you want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon. The link to it down below is down below in the description box, and it is currently the only way to get any What Up swag. So if you like stickers, keychains, magnets, shirts, you get that stuff by becoming a patron. Different tiers of my Patreon. You also get early access to some of my videos, not all. Anything that's not completely exclusive will go up there for 24 to 48 hours for people to look at. So my My London one was up there for a bit. A few other videos were up for at least a day or so for people to watch on my Patreon. Now, I want to thank you all so very much for sticking with me here to the very end. Make sure to watch that Easter egg video. It's coming out soon. And here's to many more.